Boom, boom. Check 1, 2. Check. Hi, friends. Welcome to the program. My name is Dean. I look less than thrilled today, don't I? Very malaise. I'm on fucking Team No Sleep for the first time in I don't know how many years. Team No Sleep.
There's a little bit of stress in your life right now, maybe?
Totally forgot about Team No Sleep. I guess no more than I ever have. My life is like a blender. But I woke up at 3 o'clock. Couldn't get back to sleep. It was it's like my mind was like, it's 6 o'clock. Get up, Dean. Get going. And then the flood of got to do this, got to do that, got to do this. So Team No Sleep is no fun. Tried to have a nap today. Meditated a little bit, which is good that we're talking about meditating and sleep and wellness because we got a couple of things to get to today. Brandon Currie is going to join us talking about how we're going to tax the F out of Canada's oligarchy. Budget's coming down. Brandon Currie's a financial planner. And Canada's set to tax the extreme wealthy in super big business. And we're going to chat about that in a couple of minutes.
Brandon's from what?
Sun Life. Brandon Currie, Sun Life, in the Professional Insights podcast. He was part of that podcast for a long period of time, right? So he's a smart dude, nice guy. We're going to talk to him about that.
He'll have a nice shirt. That's my prediction.
Guaranteed. His hair is
a snappy
nice
dresser.
Frosty, too. It's going to look glazed. I bet you he's wearing a white shirt.
Maybe.
I bet we're going to see some brick behind him today because he likes the aesthetics. He's that kind of guy.
Okay.
But the starting talking about wellness, not being on Team No Sleep. This is going to be an interesting podcast for a couple of reasons. One is Lochlin Cross, my friend Lochlin Cross here. A lot of people don't know this. Is deeply into yoga. He's one of those yoga guys. You don't look at him and you go, oh, that's a guy that does yoga. But I can tell he does yoga just, by knowing him. He's got a great shitter on him, incredible butt. He's in pretty good shape with the exception of the beer belly, right? You've got that swollen liver portion of your stomach.
I got a bit of I'm 54. So
I know you look great.
You tend to carry a little bit of weight around.
Yeah.
Right? The midsection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We all do.
Yeah.
We all do. Not as much as we do. So usually 30s, 40s you carry around, but you take really good care of yourself. So you get fired, a month ago? Is that when you got fired?
I got let go at the end of February. It was on leap year, and I have been thinking about doing the yoga teacher training, the YTT, 200 hours for quite some time. Now, locally, you can do these programs, right? You can also do them online, and I started to do some research. I said to my wife, I'm going to bite the bullet. Yeah. For the last, I'd say 5-6 years, I've been saying out loud, I'm going to get the yoga teacher training course. Mm-hmm. But I'm a busy guy. I was doing this
really because you're not working, so you're not that busy right now. Now's the time.
Now's the time to do it, right? I don't have a full-time job outside of the podcast, and so I started to do a little bit of research. And I'm from BC originally, and I would gravitated towards one called Kootany Yoga School, and at the time there was a program in the summer where you go camping. Mm-hmm. And then I started to look into it a little bit more. And there was one in Joshua Tree at the beginning of May. And I was like, I'm going to do this. And I reached out to them. They got back to me right away. I've signed up. May 1st, I'm flying down to Palm Springs and heading to a little community. I think it's 30-40 minutes just outside of Palm Springs. And I'm going to do my yoga teacher training. It's an intensive program. Mm-hmm. And 2 weeks, and I got to be honest, I'm very, very excited about it.
No kidding. This is a commitment too. It's not a day. It's, as you said, it's 2 weeks long. It's intensive. Solid. You're going to have to wear a crop top and Lululemons every day. That's a commitment for a guy like you, right? You're going to do all that stuff.
I don't know about the crop top.
Some of those 84 yoga mats you got in the back, you're going to have to pick one of them. I know it's difficult to make decisions for Lochlin Cross. You're like, should I take the maroon one? Should I take the black one?
They have different purposes, Dean.
Whatever. I don't know. I'm going to learn about it because the young lady who actually operates Kootany Yoga School joins us today. Who are we talking to?
Lisa, and her last name starts with a C. Is it Clems?
My last name is Clemens.
Clement.
Lisa Clemens.
Clement.
You guys, I'm
hang
just
on, Lisa. Let me
roaring in
just.
the background. I'm just
Yeah, well,
roaring
you should,
listening to
because
you
we're
guys.
gonna have some fun. And you know what? This is what you're gonna get. What you just got there from Lochlin as your introduction. This is where you're gonna get at your yoga school, Joshua Tree, May 1st, where he invites you on the show. He's gonna take your program, and he's like, Lisa, I don't remember her last name. Which is, like in terms of our job, and I know you're prepped for your job, that's something that Lochlin should have prepared for us ahead of time, is just the
Not a prepper.
basics, like your last name, which would have been nice. But Lisa Clemens, pleasure to meet you. Kootany Yoga School.
Pleasure to meet you too.
Yeah. Tell me about your phone call with Lochlin before we get into introducing you to Lochlin, and then we'll find out about Kootany Yoga School and what you've got in store for my very dear friend who's about to embark on what could be a life-changing journey, right? It really could be.
It will be. It will be. Lochlin and I had a wonderful conversation. I mean, he's exactly the ideal student for us. He's super realistic, really laid back, pretty comical, as I guess you probably know since you guys work together.
Yes, very funny
We
guy.
just had
Very
almost
funny man.
tears just moments ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, we had a wonderful conversation. I think it was just coming down to narrowing down kind of the placement of where he wanted to be, whether it be in Canada or Joshua Tree. I think he's going to really love Joshua Tree. It's a pretty incredible environment. It's beautiful. There's no way else to say it. It's very special. I'm sort of wondering how he's going to manage and cope with silent mornings.
That's worth mentioning out loud.
Well, I think cope is a wonderful way to lean into this conversation, because he's very excited, right, Lisa? And he's really into yoga, and he's very realistic, and he's incredibly authentic, and he's a dude's dude, right? And yoga's got this reputation as like this namaste, let's drink some green shit and stretch and then downward this. So like it's got this, but listen, yoga's changing, and a guy like Lochlin, in your eyes, Lisa, could do a lot for the yoga community, right?
Absolutely. And that's sort of how our client base is and how things are changing. We have nurses who just kind of want to keep care of their bodies physically, or kind of implement a little bit of that inside of their day-to-day job. We have social workers. We have doctors who are trying to take a more holistic approach. We have professional athletes or aspiring professional athletes. It's a pretty good broad spectrum of people that we have participating in the program. And yeah, we drink some green shit, and we do some namastes, and we do some chanting and some of those things for sure. Of course, it's involved in the program, and it's really a nice practice. But I have to say, out in Joshua Tree, we get a heartier stock. We really do get a heartier stock of students. Beautiful terrain, but it's the desert. It's hot, it's cold, there's prickles on everything, and sand blowing through the air at every moment. So we get a pretty down-to-earth group of students. All of our students are wonderful, fantastic, just shining stars. I really mean that. But we do get a pretty unique group of really sturdy, down-to-earth people out in Joshua Tree. It's a great program for him to participate in.
The Kootany Yoga School, Lisa, started how many years ago? And the interesting thing about it's not necessarily a retreat, although some might call it a retreat. The interesting thing about what you offer is you offer destinations for the YTT. And so not just in BC around Christina Lake, but also Joshua Tree, but also Mexico. So how long have you been doing that? And how did you get to the point where you started to open up your practice and your teaching to offer these really amazing destinations?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I worked in a retreat center in Mexico from approximately, I want to say 2014 to 2020. But we were primarily doing retreats. What I found about that is a retreat by kind of definition is just a holiday. It was getting very repetitive, and there was no like real focus or goal of the participants. It was a really nice time, but it became pretty monotonous. We were doing occasional teacher trainings at that retreat center, but my employer didn't really see it viable to block off the calendar for 2 weeks or sometimes 3 weeks. So we kind of walked away from that. And that's when I really recognized that having a more focused group of students that are there with a goal and kind of a like-minded either story or objective was really where we wanted to be at. So at that time, I believe it was approximately 2018, we started doing teacher trainings independently. We started by offering an off-grid program, I believe in September of 2018. That program was at the north end of Christina Lake, so completely boat access. And we had a large group of students. We were cooking over the fire, and it was kind of our introduction to kind of hosting these things completely on our own. It was kind of a family effort. And then from there, we took over a property on Isla Mujeres that can quite easily accommodate, 18 to 22 students. So that's sort of kind of been our main base where we consistently have our program twice per month all year round. But, California is a really interesting spot, and it's pretty inspiring for my son. He really enjoys being out there. So we branched out in that direction as well. And I have to say, I think my entire family is most comfortable out there. It's just a really great spot to be and live, and kind of a welcoming community. It's just a great spot to be. So that's sort of how we got started and where we're currently located.
That's awesome. Destination yoga teacher training. Go ahead, Locke.
Yeah.
You're going to say something.
I was going to say that when I went to the webpage, I knew about the BC yoga teacher training program, right? And I knew that was something that you guys did. I opened up the webpage and I immediately was drawn to the Joshua Tree program. And then I was wildly excited because it was within a very short period of time. It was in May, and there was openings, and I started sending you notes right away and annoying you for about a week. You know what? The thing that I think is interesting about yoga for me is, again, there's this perception that it is. I mean, I don't even need to point it out, like that it's this thing. But once you start doing it, like I got into it because of an injury at 41, and I got into it in the basement by myself, would not have told my buddies that I was doing this at all. And then I went to a studio after a couple of years, and I'd say after going to the studio for 2 or 3 years, started to get very serious about it. And now there was actually a period of time too where I did yoga every day for well over a year. And then I remember saying at one point along that path that this is something I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And when you start to explore it a bit more, I think that the community is changing. I think the perceptions that those walls are coming down a little bit. And I think what people think it is, it isn't. And is that fair to say, Lisa, that you're seeing a more, I mean, you obviously alluded to it, but have you noticed that the diversity of the people getting involved in the YTT thing is something that you have noticed over time?
Absolutely. 100%. When we first got started in doing this, I would say our demographic was 21-year-old females to 28-year-old females, with a few women who...
That's why I thought Lochlin was going in the first place. Was that demographic?
And it's changed now. I mean, the age group, we're having students as young as 17 years old coming directly out of high school, participating in the program pretty frequently. We're having a lot of people in retirement that are taking the program. Pretty much everybody's doing yoga these days in some capacity or another. I mean, if you even just kind of step back from it and just imagine all of the workers, my brother runs large crews in the oil fields and large job sites. They're starting their day with a 30-minute stretching session. They're not calling it yoga, and they're not getting down on a mat, but essentially what they're doing is it's very close to a standard yoga practice. And a lot of the school systems are starting the day with yoga. We have significantly more men that are participating in the programs. The communities that are participating in the programs are changing a lot too. used to be pretty predictable where people were from. And now it's like it never ceases to amaze me when we enter the WhatsApp phone numbers into the group chat where people are coming from. It's amazing.
Yeah, the demographics are changing for sure. And, the funny part is that I don't know if people know this. It's a very serious life hack. Gentlemen, ladies, doesn't matter who you are. There might not be a better hangover cure than hot yoga. And I'm telling you that right now. I can speak from experience. Like 7 years ago, my humdinger hangovers, I would just beetle my way down to Moksha Yoga. And I would get in the old hot yoga studio, and the thing would be going on. And the guy would come around and he'd lean down and start pushing. And he goes, "Do you have a couple of drinks last night?" And I'm like, I did. Trying to sweat it out here. And literally, invariably, as soon as it was done, it was like one of the greatest cures for a hangover. But the other thing is that it's a very peaceful way to get your exercise on, right? Like it really is. You walk out of there, you don't feel like raging. You didn't listen to Metallica. There might have been some spa music on. There's some soft voices and stuff like that. And to your point, Lochlin's a very gregarious character, and I was going through some of the stuff you have on your website, just having a look at some of the schedules. By the way, if you would like to go and have a look, it is Kootany Yoga School, and the trip you're going on is fascinating. Lochlin, this is not going to be one of those things you go to where you're like, it'll be a nice break from life. This is work, dude. You got to work. Each student will leave.
It's involved.
Big time. 200-hour intensive practical knowledge, 45 traditional poses, embodied practice, designing sequences. What they'll cover: anatomy of yoga, detailed description and practice of the 45 traditional yoga poses, Asana Labs introduction to, I don't know what that is, but it sounds delicious, and then some other words I can't repeat, restorative yoga, 8 limbs of yoga, and the schedule. Let's talk about the schedule, shall we, for old Locker? This is 14 days. 5:45 you get up, morning practice. 7:30 a.m. to 8, breakfast. Then you got a morning seminar at 8 to 10. And these are places you have to be. And if I know Lochlin, old Locker doesn't like being told what to do. So schedules to him are just like a massive killjoy. 10 to 12, independent study.
I'm
12
buying
to
in,
12:30,
I'm going to buy in. I'm going to let go.
12:30 to 2, inside afternoon seminar. And then you've got anatomy class, which sounds fun, from 2 to 4. Free time, 1 hour.
That's what I'm worried about.
4 to 5, 5 p.m. to 6:30, evening practice, 6:30 to 7:30, dinner, evening sunset session at 7:30. Now, Lisa.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know cursory about my friend Lochlin Cross, how do people like him traditionally do with schedules like that and a pure plant? Look at your face, Lisa. Jesus.
No, because I'm thinking that he's probably going to be one of these team leaders who just approaches everything with enthusiasm.
Well, here we go.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
I think he will. I'm
totally. I'll tell you where I'm going to struggle.
I like her. She's good. I like Lisa.
She's
smart.
I love Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay. I was sold the minute I got her on the phone and we started chatting, because she's very real, and I'm very real. I'm very authentic. And this is, again, no one's more surprised that I'm doing this than the people that are closest to me, like Dean. And I will say this: I'm going to have no problem with the asana. Like the physical practice is going to be fine. I'm going to be able to do that. Where I need to let go, and the stumbling block I'm going to have, and this is why I wanted to do this, because this is the next step in my yoga adventure.
Is it human interaction?
It's the mindfulness. It's the meditation side of things. Okay. I have a stumbling block there.
Okay. Yeah.
The prana, I can get the breathing. I understand that, and I understand why it's so powerful. I haven't been able to get there yet. When people talk about meditation and they talk about how to get to a point of meditation, I understand it. It sounds good on paper. This does not allow me to get there. So this, I'm hoping, this 200 hours in the desert in Joshua Tree
to learn how to concentrate.
that evolution for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect background for implementing that in your day-to-day life and learning and understanding that. I don't think that there's anywhere I've ever been in the world that is as quiet and peaceful and uninterrupted as Joshua Tree. It actually takes me several days just to settle down and get into a sleep pattern because, like, I live in Mexico. If it's quiet, someone got shot. So it's a little different to get used to this level of peace and quiet and tranquility. Your teacher, Sarah Martiniak, is a fabulous guide when it comes to like working the breath work and understanding how it feels in your body, recognizing how it feels in your body, which is kind of like the first step around getting yourself to these relaxed states. I would say it's going to be interesting because you're probably going to be coming out of your comfort zone in several areas that you might not even be thinking about yet. Just as an example, they do an ecstatic dance party in the night. So, you know,
this is going to be hard for me.
Exactly. You're out in the desert, no alcohol, and, you know, dancing around.
Okay, hold it. I got to stop you. Okay. We're going to deal with this right now.
I do like my beers. Can I pack some in?
No, wait. Let me ask you a couple questions
Meet
here.
me in my bodega.
The dance party, is it mandatory? Please say yes.
We don't usually have people out of it. It's kind of cool.
There you go. Don't be a weasel. She'll call you a weasel if you weasel out of it. So you're doing a sweet. What's that?
If you can bring sort of like a fluorescent outfit for that activity.
Oh, that's all. I'll dig that out, Lisa.
Like, bring some glow sticks. Can you bring glow sticks?
That's right. It's a plant-based rave. You're going to have a great time, dude. Seriously. Okay, so plant-based rave.
That's the other thing. So
I'm not done. I got to ask
diet.
you a question. The vegan diet. We're going to get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
But the no alcohol thing, let's stay on that. Let's not go plant-based yet, Lochlin. We got to stay on task. Okay.
There'll be people sneaking booze in.
The alcohol bit. Now, Lochlin has had 2 to 6 beer a day since he was 13.
Come on.
So I need to know, is he allowed to have alcohol in his tent or yurt or whatever he's staying in? Yes or no? Lisa.
Oh, you guys are there. Okay, good.
Is he allowed to have alcohol in his yurt? Yes or no?
Yurt.
Well, look, we would love to be just snapping beers in the back forest at every moment. But the problem is this: Yoga Alliance has a hard and fast rule against alcohol in the program.
All right.
You get to dry out for 2 weeks. Your boy Dino, who's dried out for 7 years, has some great words of advice for you, even though I did have an old-fashioned last week, and it was delicious. Let me tell you something, Lochlin. This is going to be excellent for you. That mindfulness piece that you're talking about, the reason why that brain doesn't work, it's swimming around in Bud Light. And you're going to get 2 weeks off, and you're going to get to sit there, and Lisa and her friends are going to teach you how to be mindful. And by the end of those 2 weeks, you're going to come back and go, Bud Light? No, thank you. Kombucha? Yes, please. That's what's going to happen. Good for you, Lisa. You stick to your guns. You don't let that guy bring a hip flask in. You make sure that he pays attention.
Look at his face. Look at his face. He's already thinking that he's not going to share the Uber. He's already thinking he's going to rent a car and load the back of it up with beers and just like park behind his accommodation.
That's actually, don't give me any ideas, Lisa.
Look at this.
I will be working it.
What's included for tonight's accommodations? Meals, manual. Students will be provided 3 plant-based meals per day. Here we go, Locke. There's manual, 200-hour certification. Absolutely beautiful.
Food I'm not worried about.
What's not included? Transportation.
I'm not worried about the food. Although I may sneak some beef jerky down.
Yeah, alcohol. So good for you, Lisa. Stick to it. That's all I'm saying.
I was actually going to ask you if you're going to be bringing a large supply of beef jerky.
Yes, I'll probably slip some beef jerky down into the backpack with me.
That's totally fine. People do that. And you know what? Yoga Alliance asked for us to provide a vegan or vegetarian diet. So we're still serving eggs and things in the morning.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have cheeses and things like that if we don't have people with 100,000 dietary restrictions, which we usually do. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But we've had students before that they just really can't hang with the vegan diet in 100% situation. We have Uber Eats out there. It's not a problem for us for you to order some tacos if you need to. It's just we can't really provide that. It's kind of like from the mentality of like, we're not hurting any of the living creatures. We're just living in total perfect harmony for these 2 weeks.
So
I love it. I love it.
I have another question.
Tell me.
If you were to, if somebody was interested in getting into yoga, not even from the teaching perspective, what is it about? Because for me, it was an injury that I got into it, and then I started doing it, and then I was like, okay, this is something that I'm going to incorporate into my life for the rest of my life. But if somebody, because I get people asking me all the time, how do you get people interested in yoga? Like if they just come to you and say, "Oh, Lisa, you teach this, you teach people to teach it." Is there one thing that you say to people about an introduction into it?
Golly, it sort of depends what people kind of preface it with. I mean, there's this whole element of just like living inside of a supportive community for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? Just even that in itself. A lot of people are craving that. Other people, they've dabbled with yoga. A lot of people got into yoga during COVID and sort of want to deepen their practice. We have a pretty even balance of people who might like to teach and others who just want to deepen their practice. And it's all cool, and it really makes a nice, diverse environment. We have students who have like 3 months experience, and we have students who have 30 years experience. And it just sort of works. Like we just sort of do this integration process, and your teacher is a really great example of like how to hold space, bring people together in a really interesting way. And the support that you find is really amazing. We start our programs, when we start our programs and we open them, we introduce the Seva Angel concept.
Okay.
And Seva essentially means like just provide conscious acts of meditation back. And so we kind of introduce that concept and sort of secretly assign each person someone that they will be secretly looking after. This doesn't mean buying flowers or things like that, but it is an immersive program, and it can be a lot, and it's a long time to be away from home. And so people are kind of secretly on the back end looking after one another. And so that makes it pretty seamless. Like it's taken away a lot of the support that we've had to give the students because the community is looking out for one another.
And that kind of I don't know, dovetails into the idea of yoga, right? That inclusiveness, the yoke.
Sounds
right?
like you know what it sounds like to me? Sounds like you're going to get a yoga buddy that's going to do wellness checks on you when you're there too. Dude, no booze, plant-based food, and a yoga buddy to do wellness checks on you all the time.
I'm in.
And a neon plant-based rave. And let's be serious here. I looked at some of the pictures. You might even get to blow some balloons.
Some bubbles.
And if you're really lucky, you get to hang out in the hammock class.
I'm so glad you guys are funny. I was like, what the hell is this interview thing going to be about?
That's all it is. It's all it is. Real authentic men talking about real authentic things. Lisa, Kootany Yoga School. Lochlin is going down to do his YTT.
I'm so excited.
May 1st. Thank you for joining us, giving us a preview of what you're going to do
Lisa.
with and for this man, and hopefully to this man. And as a friend of yours, Lisa, and I'm a friend of yours now, we're friends, make it specifically grueling for him if you can, please. Thank you.
Should I try and get some hidden video footage of him when he's doing stupid things?
Yes, you should. Of him sneaking a beer. Uber Eats a couple of hot dogs at like 2:00 in the morning because he's starving, but they'll bring him a margarita too. But don't say anything. That'll be your boy Lochlin. Lisa, thank you. It was great to meet you.
Looking forward to it, Lochlin. Nice to meet you both. Take care.
You, Lisa. This was awesome.
Yeah,
really
Lisa.
appreciate it. Kootany Yoga School.
There you go,
and
dude.
they have programs in Mexico, in Joshua Tree, and just type that into Google, it'll pop up, and in BC.
There you go.
I almost did the one in BC, the one in Christina Lake.
Dude, I can see you
It's
there.
a lot.
I can see you blowing bubbles, neon dance party. I can see you doing the yoga, no problem.
All kidding
You're
aside,
a yoga pro. No.
All kidding aside, I need to let go. I need to.
You really do. You got to embrace this stuff.
I'm gonna try. Because
I'm not joking about the bubble blowing. Like if it's a bubble blowing thing in as the end of a class and everybody's doing it, and you're like, I don't do bubbles. you got to do bubbles. And I'm being
I'm gonna
serious.
do bubbles.
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
are.
I'm gonna do the damn bubbles.
You're going to do, if you need a hammock buddy, you're getting a hammock buddy. Lochlin.
I'm so glad you're enjoying this.
Brandon Currie, Professional Insights. Hey, you think you see
So am
Lochlin
I. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great hammock, buddy. Yep.
Could you do that, Brendo? Could you do that? Could you do a yoga trip? Could you do it? I applaud Lochlin. Like, talk about getting out of your comfort zone. Could you do that?
Yeah.
Well, listen, I was going to be his, I'm listening to you guys and I'm sitting there going like, oh, I'd be Lachlan's secret buddy. And then there's like no alcohol. I'm like, no, that's not going to happen.
I'm being serious. Like I
could do vegan though. I could do vegan.
You could do plant-based for 2 weeks?
Like proper vegan, like well cooked. Yeah. Cause that's actually some really good food.
They have a chef down there that prepares all the meals. Right,
really good food. Yeah,
I mean it's okay.
Yeah, how many people have gone? What a delicious tofurkey burger. Nobody.
Not that many people.
Person.
No.
So
But
don't
2
try
weeks
and sell it. You could do anybody could do anything for 2 weeks. But I'm like this. Here's the thing. I know you're I know you're not worried about the vegan diet.
I'm not worried about the diet.
I know you're not really worried about the activities, morning quiet time. The thing that's going to be fascinating is you on day 4, no booze. That'll be fascinating because
I'm not listen, I'm not getting myself stupid drunk every night, but I drink every day. Yeah. Like there's a glass of wine and then the hockey game's on and then the beer comes out, right? Like I'm definitely a drinker and I have, right? But I think I can do it for 2 weeks.
When was the last time you went more than 2 days without a drink? There you go. 2 weeks is going to be fucking
It's been
awesome.
a while. There was a conversation about a swollen liver a couple years ago. So I might have taken a month off. Longest month of my life.
I went 7 years. And it's not that hard. And once you go the first 2 weeks, the next 6 years are a breeze. What were you going to say, Brando? What were you going to say?
I was just the no drinking, but once you get on it, you can do it. I went 30 days in January, so.
Oh, did you do dry January?
I did dry January, yeah.
How was it? Like, at what point were you going like this with your fingernails? Okay. Was it day 4?
You know what?
Usually day 4.
Here's the kicker. The hardest part was no sugar.
Yeah.
That is literally any of your viewers that are watching right now, sugar is one of the worst drugs out there.
Yeah.
It is literally headaches in the morning. It is like mood swings. Like it is bad. Alcohol, I was like, all right, 1-2 days, as long as I'm not socially around it, I don't really miss it. It's like, I'm very much like Locke. I like to have a glass of wine or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was the no sugar for the month. That was that put me into the shake.
So I went to Scorgie's doc, the Breaking Olympia, Dean.
Yeah.
And I met with Jimmy beforehand. We went to Kelly's. We had a pint. Then we went, and I didn't want to order beer at the movie theater because I didn't want to have to get up and leave. Right. If I drink a couple of beers in the movie theater, I'm going to pee 3 times. So I didn't want to do that. And I didn't want to disrupt the event. So I never drink pop. I got a bucket of popcorn. And of course the guy's like, well, if you throw in this, you get the deal or whatever. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I grabbed a bag of M&Ms. And so I'm sitting down, I drink the pop. And because I never have pop, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. So I pound this Coke. Then I eat all the M&Ms. I woke up the next morning. Like I don't eat sugar like that.
You're hungover. Yeah.
I felt like a bag of smashed assholes. Oh. I felt so bad. It was like the worst hangover I've had in months.
Yeah.
And
sugar hangovers are worse.
You're not wrong, Brandon.
I have not had a hangover in 7 years, right? Because I don't really drink at all. I had a couple of drinks in the last month and a half, but no big deal. You'll have a cocktail here or there, half a glass of wine here or there. And I noticed a difference in my physiology right away for 2 reasons. One is the sugar. The other one is the alcohol. It's instant. I noticed the next day I'm not in a great mood, all that other stuff. And so when I quit drinking, though, turn that back around to your point, I had to go on this sugar binge to replace the sugar I wasn't getting in the booze, right? Because I was just, everybody's like, dude, just don't drink, eat the sugar. My hangovers from sugar were just as bad sometimes as they were the fucking booze. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah.
Look at the compound structure of sugar, and it's not that far off from cocaine. From a like the chemistry behind
not
sugar.
helping, Brandon.
I'm
gonna go down and just start snorting sugar.
Yeah, you're gonna start sugar packets, start snorting those.
Calorie free. Calorie free.
Brandon Currie joins us, Professional Insights, the podcast, which was a humdinger on the network for a long period of time. He's with Sun Life. And we have a couple things happening today. As a financial guy, and I wanted you to come on the show. We've talked about doing this for some time. The budget is coming down today, the federal budget. Now, as boring as I find budgets, and they all are fucking boring, and the average Canadian doesn't even know the budget's coming down today. But the federal government is about to do something to the wealthiest, less than 1% in this country, and that's ding, 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 ding them for taxes to pay for a whole bunch of social programs they've just recently announced. So I wanted to ask you, first of all, just the overall of what you know is coming for the budget, Brando, and then we'll get into some of the finer points of it, because it's going to be interesting, right? Like, we see people fighting all the time about taxes. And a lot of people don't even understand what the taxes are, don't know what rebates are. So they definitely don't know what fucking budgets are. So if you could kind of, color this in with like verbal crayon for people, that would be great. What's going on with the budget, and what do you expect today?
Yeah, so every April 1st, and this is the Ontario provincial budget's the same way. The federal budget gets tabled, and it is a confidence motion. So basically, it's an automatic confidence motion. So unless you have enough votes to pass the budget, it could send us into an election. But that is not on the card. That's not on the cards. Mm-hmm. The other thing that because of the supply, the supply and support agreement.
No, you keep going. He's just being a knob. You just keep going. Yeah. Don't just keep talking right through all of his interruptions about coalitions. Keep going.
And so, currently, which is not normal. They've gone on this. Basically, they've hit the road and they've been dealing out cash right, left, and center for the last couple of weeks. I think the total, is around 37 billion already announced. Now, it is over a couple of years. How long that is, we don't know. The majority of that is in loans and grants, so that is immediate to the bottom line of the government. So this is where you start to see a lot of the spending. You're going to see this to be more of an election style budget, meaning they're prepping to go. We don't know when, but they're definitely prepping to go into an election. This is why all the announcements are happening when they're happening.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of nomenclature, I guess is the best way to put it, being thrown around. To your point, Dean, not a lot of people understand. It sounds great, but it no one knows the context to what it means. And one in particular that politicians love to use on all sides, which drives me crazy, is the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
Middle class. What does that even mean?
Yeah, what's that range?
It doesn't. It means nothing from an economic definition perspective. Because
isn't that what they said to Brando? They were like, "Hey, look, we're not going to touch the middle class."
That's right.
And then they say these words, right? Nomenclature, great phrase, great word to describe what we're talking about here, which is this generic wording to say we're not going to touch the middle class. But what is that range? Where does it start? Where does it end? That kind of stuff, because at the top end of that range, you get out of middle class, you get to the richest 1% of the country. This budget has a penalty for being incredibly successful, or at the very least, a total fucking greedy corporate criminal, right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really know yet what that looks like, right? I mean, are we going after corporations when they say there's a lot of people, theorizing what's going to happen? Are they going to increase taxes on corporations? All right, well, the vast majority of corporations in Canada are under 100 employees, and they're small to medium enterprises. And so, do they? I mean, they all make less than the corporations from a profit perspective they all get less than $500,000 a year from a profit perspective.
Yeah.
But over that, that's when you get into your massive corporations, your big blue chips. So which segment of the tax is increasing if they go after that? What size of corporations are they going after? They've talked about an excess profit tax. Specifically, it's been banted around groceries. Now, this has been speculated, just so we all know. Well, what does that look like? What does excessive profits mean?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to put context to that and use profit margins? Meaning, if in 2019 you had a 5% gross profit margin, and in 2023, or because we're just filing our 2023 taxes, and in 2023 you end up getting a 6% profit margin.
Mm-hmm.
Does that 1% then is that considered excess? Like, we don't know those answers. So a lot of words being thrown around with not a lot of detail. It sounds really good, but what does that even mean? I mean, the top 1% in 2022, I think, was it was over $500,000 a year.
Yeah, top 1% made more than $500,000 a year, and then there's this super small majority of that 1% that makes over $1 million a year. I don't know what that tax rate's going to be. We're going to find that out today, and I just want to give a little backstory to what you're saying here. This is from CBC. The federal budget will include a tax increase on the richest Canadians, sources tell Radio Canada. It's not exactly clear. This is the problem with this government. Always has been. They don't communicate at all.
Messaging has been an issue.
Yeah, for a bit. It's not clear exactly what tax measure will take, but senior Liberal sources have told Radio Canada, refused to do the French accent, by the way, Radio Canada, can't do it, that it will affect less than 1% of Canadians. So to your point, what is that? Trudeau and his ministers have been on a countrywide tour handing out these budget announcements. And to your point, those announcements added up to $38 billion in commitments over a number of years. $17 billion involved those loan-based programs. As you pointed out, $21 billion could hit the government's bottom line directly. And Chrystia Freeland has ruled out a tax on that, androgynous middle class, saying, quote, "We remain absolutely committed to being there for the hardworking middle class Canadians and won't raise taxes on them. We're just going after the riches," to your point, which is over $500,000 a year. When you talk, you've got high net worth clients, right? You've got some people that, as a financial advisor, and how do you look at it as a financial person? Like, because there's going to be a couple different arguments that go around, and you're going to see a big PR push from the wealthiest portions of this country who really do command most of the industry, including media. And they're going to be saying this is bad for everybody because it's just specifically bad for them, right? But it is. I mean, you can look at it one of two ways. You got to pay your fair share. Everybody knows rich people traditionally are really good at hiding where their tax money goes and being able to take advantage of all of those loopholes. But then there's the other case, which is like, hey, listen, these guys are incredibly successful. They've been able to surround themselves with the proper help based on merit. Most of these people that are uber wealthy probably don't want to, support the victim class in this country, Brando. So how do you look at it, and how do some of your clients look at the possibility of a wealth tax or an excess profit tax in this country?
Well, I'm sure if you talk to the average, like the vast majority of my clients, I mean, you're basically, they just wouldn't even pay attention to it, right? They'd be just like, oh, okay, well, it doesn't apply to me, right? But in Canada, what really I guess irritates me is because we're so heavily influenced by the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
and the taxes and the rules in the U.S. are way different especially when it comes to trusts.
Mm-hmm.
And trust fund inheritances and how that all works. It is incredibly hard to make over $500,000 a year in this country. It's astronomically hard for the vast majority of them. So if you're looking at $300,000 plus a year, $250,000 plus a year, which would still put you in the top 2% of the population, you're talking doctors, lawyers, dentists, nurse practitioners. Those are the people that are, and I don't know about you, but those people work long hours. They all leave school with 200,000 plus in debt. They don't get any loan forgiveness. They don't get anything of that nature. So they finally pay off all their loans. A lot of them are in professional corporations. So, are you going after their professional corporations as well? I don't know that answer. Are you just going after T1 income? I don't know that answer. So when I hear that being thrown around quite a bit without the details, and people are like, yeah, and I'm like, just hold on a second, just pump the brakes. We don't know details yet. And this isn't the US. So we have a lot of programs and taxes already in place. Did that negatively impact?
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
Can I ask you a question? Because what I'm hearing, we're dancing around what I think needs to be said out loud. No matter what happens, they're going to find a way of fucking us.
Here we go.
Right?
Tim Hortons around the table. Lochlin has shown up. They're going to fuck us.
Brandon?
I don't see. So this is kind of like what Dean kind of alluded to. Your top 1%, people will say that, but they already are very good at saving. They're very good at putting their money away. It's a political move that sounds really good off of the US, but what is the probability? Like, okay, I'll give you an example. The Paradise Papers, the Panama Papers. I don't know about you, but I've been audited in the last about 10 years, right? You get audited, random spot audits. What about those people that, put their money offshore into an island account and actually evaded paying tax? And we keep reading those stories all the time in the newspapers that they just get a slap on the wrist. They don't get anything. So how are you going to pay for for this $37 billion of promises?
Slap on the wrist because Justin stayed at one of their resorts in Jamaica.
Do you know that for sure?
That's a family friend. I don't know.
It just like everybody, just bend over. I mean, I listen. We're dancing around the top. Like, just get very flexible. That's why I got into yoga, so you can grab your ankles.
Yeah. Traditionally, that's what the government does here. 100% right.
Well, I'll give you. I'll give you some numbers. I'll give you some numbers right off.
Because you bring up a good point. We're talking about taxing people who actually report their taxes. What about the people that don't? What about going after those quadrillion dollars that are sitting offshore on some ledger belonging to some Venezuelan accountant that may or may not be connected to Stephen Harper? Anyway, continue, Brandon. Give me some numbers. Yes, go ahead.
So in 2022, according to Stats Canada, the after-tax family income was $68,400. That's the median. That is the most popular income. The gross would be around $84,000 a year. For an individual, is just over $45,000. And then in 2022, that $45,000 was down 1.6% on 2021. The average, not the median, the average family income with children is $134,000 a year. The average without is $91,000 a year. So if that's the average and the median, that means the vast majority of Canadians fall under that threshold of under $150,000 to $200,000 a year. So you get income by taxing the mass populace. You don't get income by taxing just on the ends of the spectrum. So how are they going to recoup this type of money with these types of promises? The other thing that is a bit ironic. Okay, so let's hypothetically go down this little train, and let's say they increase taxes on people making over $500,000 a year. So let's say instead of 33%, you hit another threshold and you're at 35%. Which is 33% is over $246,000 a year is 33%. So what does that mean? Okay, so you then go up to 35%, an extra 2% a year.
Yeah.
The vast majority of those people would be like, all right, whatever, I'll just figure something out and we'll go see an accountant and we'll figure it out. Or it doesn't really affect them that all anyway. All right, well, $37 billion of spending in deficit, we already know is inflationary. We already know that. That's inflationary. Here's the irony. Inflation negatively impacts the low income.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give you an example. I actually nerded out. I am not in your top 1%. I would probably fall in the 10% of the category based on 2022.
Way to undersell yourself.
Well, no, I'm just like, I don't
financial advisor.
No, but like I just want to get rid of this illusion, right? I got a family of 4, and I did the carbon tax calculation.
Yeah.
So on just natural gas for my house and fuel for my wife and I, we are around $1,200 a year on carbon tax expenditures. We get $1,120 back on the carbon tax. So we're not even at 2030 yet. We're already $70 negative. And I haven't factored in anything else, groceries or anything of that nature, because that's all hidden. I can't figure that out.
Yeah.
So if I'm feeling it, what is someone at the bottom quintile feeling? Mm-hmm. What is someone in the bottom 2 quintiles feeling? Right? The bottom 40%.
Thank you for pointing that out.
And they're getting crushed right now.
Yeah.
They can't afford a damn thing. So it's all great to say, I'm going to tax the rich. Okay, thanks, Robin Hood. But you're not effectively giving it back to the people who need it the most. So if you're going to ask me, if I were to structure a tax, I think Canada should go to a flat tax. I think there should be a royal commission. I think we need to change our tax code. But that's besides the point. If why are you're taxing 15% onto people? Hold on, I will give you the 2024 so I'm accurate.
Thank you.
15% on the portion of taxable income that is $55,867 or less.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're making less than $55,000 a year, your federal tax, not Ontario, is 15%. Okay, why are we really taxing anyone that makes under 30 grand? Like that, like really? Yeah. Like that, does that make any sense to me?
No,
like you're right. So, okay. So you're keeping these tax rates in place for someone who makes for the first $30,000 or $40,000 a year. Cause you and I, all of us on this call are affected because it's a tiered tax system,
mm-hmm.
right? And you're taking 2% from the rich, like nothing makes sense. So yeah, on paper, it balances the budget or
mm-hmm.
it makes it flat line or the budget balances itself, whatever math they use. But the reality is everyday expenses for Canadians
mm-hmm.
they're getting crushed.
Can I play a video for you guys?
Thank you.
Can I play a video for you guys to prove your point?
Yeah. So please stop defending the 3 cents more that I pay every time somebody it's constant. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day. And the thing that's frustrating everybody, I think, is that we continue to have these conversations about this tax, that tax, and then you got people fighting online. Well, you must be from Alberta. It's only 3 cents on the thing. At the end of the day is what everyone's forgetting to say out loud is that every Canadian, everybody across the board, take out the uber rich, are finding it more and more difficult to live day by day. That's not an exaggeration. We are all feeling the pinch, and it's a combination of things, and nobody's doing anything to alleviate that. And this $38 billion that they keep announcing, people don't sit there and go, okay, well, yeah, but he's helping that or that. No, all they hear, Brandon, and this is what we can go back to the messaging. All they hear is they're spending another $38 billion. And I'm worried every time I step up to the gas pump to fill my car, or every time I go to the till to cash in my groceries. People have stopped sitting there breaking down the math. It's just life has become harder to live. And the messaging from the Liberal government has got to change, or they're going to lose so badly in the next election. They can promise to give everybody in the country a case of beer. They're still not going to win, honestly.
So let me get to this video. I like that idea. So let me get to this video proving both of your points. And thank you for that. This is a video that someone took as a Wall Street. It's a Wall Street influencer who couldn't believe the price of food at Shoppers Drug Mart. I don't know if you've seen this video.
No, I haven't.
To your point about downloading all of that inflationary pain onto the poorest people in every society, that's what happens, right? It always happens. Not only are Americans taking notice of how expensive Canada is, right? I took notice of how expensive Canada is. Now, if you do your grocery shopping at Shoppers Drug Mart, you're a fucking idiot, first of all, but it's usually like a last second thing, right? But let me just kind of play this video for you and how shocking it is to see the corporate greed portion, which is why I'm not upset by some kind of corporate greed or excess profit tax, because this is a Galen Western property. He's like public enemy number one in Ontario right now because of how successful he is, but he's this successful because he's passing on all of those charges to people in the form of butter and shit tickets. Let's watch this together.
$15 for 8 rolls of toilet paper. What the fuck? $3.39 for bottles of pop. What the fuck? $7.49 for 4 Uncrustables. What the fuck? $6.29 for no name butter. $9.19 for Nesquik is crazy. $8 for orange juice. What the fuck? Just no. Stop. What the fuck? $5 for Pringles is crazy. This cannot be real.
Wow.
And a big what the fuck to these deodorant prices.
They're on sale,
This
though.
is criminal.
like you know, $9 for a thing of Nesquik, right? You know, and so that in itself, you know, you tell the story about what the government does, but there's a real big portion of this, and the government's trying to do this to business that has helped do this to Canadians. And say what you like about how terrible the government is, they're all terrible. Taxes are all terrible. I get that. I totally understand that. But I mean, if we're not going after corporate greed at this point, when every economist and financial advisor, Brandon, and you know this, dude, you can point to the government all you want. Corporate greed is the number one driver of the reason why we are in the shitty fucking mess we're in, right?
In some cases, yes, that is, you can point to that. And not in all cases, but in some cases, yes, you can point to that.
You mean most?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot of economists, and there was a professor on CBC, and he was a professor of grocery out of the University of Guelph. And professor, if you're watching, I'm sorry, I forget your name, but I try to take in as much information as I can. And he mentioned 97% of the prices are embedded into the grocery store before it even gets there. So we're talking 3%. So what I'm just really curious, when they start throwing around, an excess profit tax, what does that even mean? And is it even going to fix the problem? It's kind of like when I forget what the minister was talking about, after they had their little round table of all the CEOs of the grocery store chains, which was an absolute waste of time.
That was
waste of time.
Sweet theater, wasn't it?
And then he gets up there on the press conference and he's just like, I've already seen a flyer in my house, and it's already it's already gone lower. I'm like, a flyer is sale products. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's what a flyer is. It's supposed to be all the cheap products. Obviously, you don't do your grocery store shopping.
No.
So, it's, and another thing, if that professor's correct, and I would have to take the professor.
You talking about food professor? Calls himself the food professor. He gets grocery money, just so you know. Just letting you know that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grant money from
I didn't know that.
Loblaws. Yeah. He gets grant money. He got grant money from Loblaws. It's a fact. So I take everything he says with a grain of salt. And he runs around Twitter complaining that everybody points it out, and how mad he gets makes me fucking laugh. But sure, the food professor says 97% of prices are built in. But generally speaking, we all know that those margins are fucking ridiculous. And you look at some of the reporting that, like, let's just take the Weston companies in their grocery store chain. I mean, they made billions in record profit over the past couple of years, right? Chicken is not supposed to be as expensive as it is. Yeah. I mean, let's be fucking serious, right? Let's be serious about it.
I did find it ironic, that little circle that they had of all the people, and here are the politicians, grilling the CEOs, the federal politicians, and yet they're the ones that are in charge of the supply chain management, which is every single economist, to get economists to agree on everything, it's next to impossible. So everybody, supply chain management unequivocally increases the cost of goods.
Yeah.
Unequivocally. You just have to go to the States and don't use the whole, oh, we don't use hormones. And yeah, you don't have hormones in your milk is mutually exclusive to supply chain management, right? Like they're not the same. One controls the supply of goods. The other one is regulation. And you've got people not being able to afford milk, calcium for growing kids. But I just came back from Florida. I took the kids. We go down to Florida during March break, and we do not eat out. We get a self-contained unit, and I went grocery store shopping, and typically you have food left over, right? Oh boy. $350 American for the week in food, and we had nothing left over.
Really?
It has astronomically increased south of the border as well.
Yeah.
It is insane.
Yeah.
On how expensive things are. I mean, never bought anything. Because once you do the math in your head and add on 30%, there aren't any deals alcohol. Don't worry, alcohol is still
cheap. You can still get a 4-liter jug of vodka at Costco for like $20, right? Yeah, you can.
That's right. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. You go and you make your Target purchase, and you walk into the alcohol store, and you're just like, oh yeah, this makes it all better.
Yeah, but it's like Alberta. Seriously, like it's in Alberta. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was like, "Have you heard of Costco liquor?" And I'm like, "No, what is it?" She's like, "In Alberta, Costco sells like you can get like the equivalent of Grey Goose, and it's like 40% cheaper than it is in any liquor store, but it's like Costco vodka is what it's called. Or Kirkland
they
vodka,
sell them like
Kirkland.
Yeah.
Kirkland. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's fascinating. That's why Alberta is.
We buy all our booze at Costco.
You should. Yeah, we don't have and Costco seems to be exempt. And Costco seems to be one of those companies that's like, hey, let's keep giving the people a couple of cheap things like that rotisserie chicken. That's still the fucking best deal on chicken in the country. How about the hot dog? Good. The $1.50 hot dog with the pop. You can't beat that shit. Let's just give Costco a round of applause.
Yeah. You know what, Costco? Going to Costco is like, and I've never been, but it's like going to Augusta.
Yeah.
Where you can still get an egg salad sandwich for $1.50. And you look at that. I looked at that menu on the weekend. You could buy that entire thing for $18.
Yeah,
and you know what? If I ever get a chance to do it, I am going to do that. I'm going to walk up. I'm like, here's $20 American. I want everything.
I want everything. 2 of them. I want everything. Here's 25.
2 of everything. Dude, you know what? 40?
And forget about it. You can get there and you can get every single item. And meanwhile, they're giving you samples of like Cheerios and like individual yogurt in Dixie cups too. And you can keep going back for more to Costco. Costco broke them all.
Some sample days are better than others too.
Yeah, they're right. I like the pierogi sample days are my favorite. The pierogi sample days. Who doesn't love pierogi sample days?
It's like going to the fair for me. Costco. Yeah.
It's like going to the fair.
They should have a ride on the roof.
The Costco pizza is so good too.
What? Really? The Costco pizza
is awesome.
They get like artisan pizza, or is it like a rising crust pizza at Costco?
It's like $20. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's massive. All right.
Massive. Like it's if you have a family, I don't get the pizza because it's too much. You're eating pizza for 4 days. But if you've got like 2 kids at home or 3 kids at home, if you go to Costco and you don't get the pizza, you're missing out. Yeah.
Brandon,
good call, Brandon.
The budget comes down today. Brandon Currie, where can people get a hold of you? Brandon Currie, of course, is financial advisor at Sun Life, and he's a very good human being who understands what he's doing. But where can people get some financial advice for you, or possibly contact you about how to preserve their wealth, my friend?
smithfinancial.ca.
smithfinancial.ca. Brandon Currie. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Also my yoga secret buddy.
Yeah, no, he's not. You're
yes.
No. You're not. You're not. You should
I'm
go
call
with
him
him
when
though.
I'm jonesing.
You should go with him
Brandon,
to the
walk
yoga
me off
retreat.
a ledge.
You should go with him and sneak one of those little stadium buddies.
I
Like
will. I'll sneak him at the end.
Yeah.
I'll sneak him in for
Atta
him.
boy.
Yeah,
All right,
no
buddy.
problem.
Talk to you soon.
Good to see you,
All right.
Brandon.
Brandon Currie. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a good dude. He explained it well.
Well,
Give me the wealth tax.
He did, but also, like, I think there's a lot of things happening right now in politically, right, where it's shocking to me that the Liberals have not learned their lesson. They haven't figured it out. And the reason why it's so bothersome to me right now isn't because I hate Justin Trudeau.
Yes, it is.
Isn't because I love PP, because I don't. You and I are very much on the same page. We hate them all. But it's so frustrating that this current government continues to just completely fall on its face. Nobody is listening to these budget announcements and going, all right, awesome. The Liberals are going to save us. Everyone is on the same page. You're spending $38 billion. My taxes are going up. No. We're going to tax the rich. Okay, yeah, I guess my taxes are going up.
But who are the rich going to pass that on to? That's the thing no one thinks about. Who do the rich people pass that on to? I'll tell you who Galen Weston passes it on to. Poor single moms that have to get Lunchables for their kids and they pay $9 for a pack of 5 of them.
Do you understand what I'm saying, though? Like, and I'm not saying the conservative government is going to come in and save us.
Of course they won't.
I'm thinking like they're going to do their own way. They're going to find new and exciting ways of screwing us.
Yes.
I'm just saying that you'd think that this government would have figured out that what they need to say is, we're not going to spend any more money. We're going to do everything we can right now. Screw the social programs, screw everything out. Cost of living is the biggest issue. We're going to go out of our way to cut your cost of living.
See, here's the problem.
They announced $38 billion of spending, and what does everybody say?
Yeah, but you're not narrowing down into the details. Part of that is 3.9 million homes that a bunch of provincial governments refuse to actually build. So there's that part of it. That's actually a good thing. Then there are, which I loved, part of this budget, $2.8 billion for AI research. Which is totally cool. Where's that money coming from?
What numbers
there are human aspects to affordability that are addressed, I believe, cursory in this budget. But it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter anyway.
Because no one's hearing that.
No one's talking about
even
what
Brandon
exactly
said
happens and who gets penalized and how much it costs. And you got a bunch of 40 million Canadians running around hearing words like wealth tax, and you're like, okay, well, is that me because I make this much money, or is that other people, and how much is it? And here's the thing. Poor people aren't the only people that are actually leveraged to the nuts, too. If you think that the last several years have been fun for people that make good money, you're crazy.
They haven't.
A lot of people that make good money and work really hard for it are leveraged to the dick, right?
Fighting.
And so, that 2-3%, if it is the wealth tax for some people and they make a certain amount of money, that could result in, and you combine interest rates that are up there too, because of the situation the world finds it's in when it comes to inflation, not just Canada, the world. Canada's the best of all G7s, needs to be said. However, there are some people who are a wealth tax 2 percentage point away from losing their houses.
Yeah.
Right? That won't be able to meet that nut when it comes to their interest payment because that amount actually put them underwater. So it's a tough time. And you're right. Messaging has been shit on behalf of this government, but it has been for 8-9 years. It bears to be seen. We haven't seen the budget yet, so we don't know the details.
But even a guy like Brandon, who doesn't look at the numbers from 1,000 miles away and goes, wow, they're going to screw us. No, he goes, all right, what are the numbers? What am I paying in carbon tax?
He doesn't
I'm
know.
going to break it down. I'm going to say, okay, what is this? What is this? I'm going to do the math. I'm going to spend some time. Why? Because I'm a smart guy and I'm in finance. What did he say? His message was, we don't really know what they're going to do.
And that's why we had him on, because he could explain how to get there, but he also is just like every other Canadian, right? Where he's like, however, it's a big who knows. at the moment. Who's going to get dinged, right? And there's
And
people
you'd
that
think,
get dinged all
you
the time.
would think that the
Doesn't feel
Liberal
awesome.
government would have figured out that they have to clean that up, and they've just got to simplify things.
Should have just been specific, right? Just be specific.
Instead, they've muddied the waters. All they're doing is just confusing everybody, and no one trusts them anymore. So even when they do say things like, we're going to tax the rich, everyone goes,
No, man.
whatever.
No, 78% of Canadians responded with fucking do it. So don't dude, there's something else going on.
78% said do it. How many of that 78% believe it'll actually happen?
78% of Canadians who were asked if they thought a wealth tax was a good idea answered emphatically, yes, it is. So this is a populist play for sure, right? You got a whole bunch of people underwater. 78% of the countries had a tough go. They're like, yeah, tax those fuckers. You won't find anybody that is outside of that 1%.
No. Because
of the way we work psychologically, who's going, oh, poor rich people. So, to your point, it fucking matters to 78% of this country that you ding guys like Galen
do we believe it?
And you fucking
do we believe
ding
it?
them.
Do we believe it's going to happen?
And then you go after not only Galen's companies, you go after him. Then you go after other people who have completely taken advantage of the situation all of us find ourselves in through the sickest, worst part of our lifetime. Yeah. So 78% of Canadians are just like you and me, right? Don't tell me. And listen, I can find the other side of it for wealthy people who are underneath it too, who are like, hey, dude, everybody's gone through a tough time. Do I feel badly for them? I understand that they don't like it, but none of me feels badly for any of them. Like not one.
No, I'm not saying anybody feels bad.
78% of the country, 80% of the country is with me. 80% of the country is like, yeah, let's hit them up. And I hope it happens.
I want the follow-up question.
What's that?
The follow-up question, do you think this government will do it? Or do you think one of those rich people will invite Justin to his Cayman Islands condo?
Here we go.
Just for 2 weeks in the summer.
Dude. Yeah, I know. I have no idea. What I can tell you is that, of course we will. What I can tell you is that before we leave today, the Donald Trump trial is continuing. I think it's a witch hunt now.
Persecution.
There's no way one person can be charged with all of that.
The Trump-hating judge.
Right. It's the Biden crime family, dude.
Yeah. Too many people voted for Biden in this district. I'm not going to get a fair trial.
I love it. Like, we can joke around about how shit this place is. America is the best right now.
That's a dumpster fire.
Donald Trump, the very first president to be on trial for any criminal proceeding, yesterday in jury selection fell asleep for, quote, 7 to 10 minutes.
Is that true?
Yeah, this is him.
We don't have cameras in there.
No cameras. He's got his suntan goggles tan on. Looks great. And they said he fell asleep. And then later on, it was announced by Maggie Haberman that they believe he, quote, passed out. His lawyers were trying to hand him notes during the thing. And he's like, he's totally out of it.
I wonder if he's still on those, like, the Ambient and the Sudafed.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Dude,
you think so?
He's been a cooked drug addict his whole life, that guy. Anyway, jury selection continues today. And I want to point out that guy is leading in some polls, not as many anymore, obviously, because this is about the hush money trial for Stormy Daniels, and we're going to hear a lot about his penis. And Christian MAGA they don't like talking about penises and sexual orientation and porn stars. And a lot of them think he's the chosen one from God. So you're going to get all the salacious details of his mounds of pubic hair and his little mushroom cap wiener, and it's going to upset people more than any criminality or any treasonous thing he's done, which is fascinating because that's that country. But as we watch what's going on in the United States, just be happy we've got a bunch of incompetent former prep boys running this country. At least we don't have like legitimately fat Hitler who might ascend to the throne of running all of us and telling us what to do. At least we don't have that. Is Pierre Poilievre the dollar store version of that? 100%. but he's not that much of a mobbed up criminal. I mean, has he sat for his national security background check? No, but at least he's not, to my knowledge, a rapist who's in bed with like Russian money, who tried to take over the United States by force a couple of years ago. So we're okay. We just get ripped off from time to time, and it's hard to see a doctor.
I wish they had cameras in there, because some of the names involved, right? Like, they're going to have to ask David Pecker about Trump's penis. And I'm sorry. I don't know why. Cause you and I've talked about this before. Why am I 7? Like, I want to see the jury go, they just called David Pecker up to talk about Trump's penis.
Well, here's the funny part of that is David Pecker is a witness for the government, right? And David Pecker used to own the National Enquirer, and he's purchased dozens of stories about Donald Trump, including pictures of his penis.
Yeah. So, I know. So they have to bring him up. They got to get a guy named Pecker. So, Mr. Pecker, what makes you an expert on Donald's penis?
Thousands of pictures of his dick. That's what makes me an expert.
I don't know if we can trust a man named Pecker to give us testimony. I'm sorry.
These are the personal stories that
I'm way giggling past. If I'm on the.
Oh, me too. I'm way past that. Like I'm more interested in now the salacious stuff. Like, one of the great crimes in the last couple of years is the fact that I haven't read Sophie Trudeau's autobiography about her time with Justin. Really upset that I haven't read it either. But I've heard
it's just out.
One thing that I've heard from that book, which makes me laugh, because whatever, it was all performative anyway, who cares, was how she said that Justin didn't, quote, meet her needs. And I'm like, right? I thought to myself, oh, I need to get into that piece right there. I need to figure out what that means. Because that's the way I am, right? Like, when I talk about taxes, I'm like, tell me about this, tell me about that. How does that work? So when I read a line in a book by the former First Lady of Canada, who got divorced from the Prime Minister while he was in office, hooked up with a heart surgeon, and they're heavy duty, and she writes in her book,
my needs weren't being met. So, okay, let's boil that down just a minute.
Well, we know what it means.
Do you think...
We know what it means.
I know what it means. I know what it means. Everyone knows what it means.
Of course.
Do you think she did that on purpose?
Yes.
To say what everyone isn't saying?
I don't know what everyone isn't saying. All I know is he apparently is not an attentive lover. That's all I got out of that. And I want to know more. I want to know why. JT, the progressive darling of liberal politics globally.
And who cares? Who cares what the real reason is? But you think that
you don't know?
I see that.
You don't write that in a book, being the former First Lady of this fucking country, and go, he didn't meet my needs, because guys like me go, whoop, 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 whoop. Radar.
That's why I'm saying she did it on purpose. That means. She did it on purpose.
Yes, big Easter egg.
To get back at him, because she's mad at him.
I want to know how he didn't meet her needs. In what capacity was the Prime Minister of this country not meeting the needs of his...
We all know it was emotional.
Yoga training wife. How is that possible? Is it emotional? Is it mental? Is it spiritual? Or is it, the other stuff? Does he have issues? Is he not drinking enough water?
Blood flow issue?
Is it a blood flow? I mean, these are serious.
Enough.
If we dance, not enough.
It's enough.
A fucking heater at the end of this podcast.
It's enough.
If I had to sit through the first part of this podcast, we're going all the way through to the end of this podcast with something interesting. Okay?
I think we're dipping our toes into waters we shouldn't be dipping our toes into.
What are you talking about? Dude, this is all they do in the United States all day long.
Okay, all right.
Every single news outlet, every single
because
person.
Because it's not fair. It's not fair.
Well, it's not
fair,
isn't
but
fair
his wife
wrote about it. And so
I know it isn't fair.
I need to find out.
It's not fair for us to be doing this.
Totally wrong. Totally wrong. Everyone's talking about it. and no one's talking about it at the same time. But you know why we're different? We verbalize our conversations about these things.
Yeah.
You're welcome, world. Anyway, that's it for us.
We do need to play the retro replay of the day for Ardent Roof Systems. Charity Golf Tournament, July 5th. Ranch Golf Country Club. Go to ardentroofsystems.com. This is based on the fact that this past weekend was the Masters. And you alluded to this last week when we were talking about the Masters, that a lot of men plan their vasectomies around the Masters. Right?
Yes, they do. It's a big weekend. More vasectomies happen. The Thursday, the Masters
You did it?
start. Oh, yeah, totally did it.
I did it.
Yep. Bag of teas, lots of golf, couple beverages. Let's go.
The Lochlin Retro Replay.
So my radio career took me from, well, my first paying job, real job. I was working part-time radio stuff in Vancouver when I was in radio school. But I went to Edson, then I went to Fort Mac, then I went to Prince George, then I went to Winnipeg,
All
then I came
beautiful
here.
spots. Yeah.
All just gems. So my Winnipeg career lasted 6 years. I worked at Power 97. I did afternoon drive. I was the program director there. That was after Prince George, where we had the girls, where we had the kids. And you don't make a lot of money in radio. And I was already panicking about the idea of having another kid. So
2 kids, yeah.
I said to the wife, I said, I'm going to get snipped. We can't afford the 2 we have. So let's get this done. And unfortunately, I got it done in Winnipeg. Now, if you know anything about Winnipeg, God love Winnipeg, but if you have money and you're smart, you don't live in Winnipeg. So there's no doctors. So there's like 4 doctors for 1 million people. It's crazy. It's nuts. So you wait forever for stuff.
Yeah.
So I found a guy that was going to clip my nuts, and I made an appointment. I got it done. And then you have to drop off your post-vasectomy sample, and then they test it to see if you have any live swimmers.
See if you're shooting blanks or not.
Yeah. So I go down to drop off my post-vasectomy sample.
Okay.
And I walk.
So you got your 5-gallon pail.
I walk into the clinic. They give you a cup and a bag, and I take it in, and I'm standing in line. The wait room's packed. Like I said, there's 4 doctors in Winnipeg for everybody. Okay. And I walk up and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to drop this off and get out of here. Because people recognize me occasionally, right? Okay. And I had a pretty popular show in Winnipeg. The lady at the counter was fairly new. It'll become clear as to why I know she just started. It's my turn. I step up and I put my bag on the counter and I said,
gently, hopefully,
I'm here to drop off my post-vasectomy sample. And she goes, I'm sorry?
Skip the dishes.
And I said, I'm here to drop off my post-vasectomy sample. And you know me, I don't get quieter, I get louder. She looks at me with complete and total confusion. I'm starting to panic because I don't want to say, I got a bag of on the counter.
You could have said splooge.
There's so many other words you could have used.
Right?
Love juice.
Love juice. I don't want to say one of these things. Finally, she goes, oh! And she goes beet red. Then she starts searching for something, and I'm like, what is she doing? She's looking for a piece of paper. She finds a piece of paper, and she goes, okay, so now I realize she's got a list of questions she needs to ask me before she
can accept your
load. My load. So she's going through this list of questions. What's your name? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then now I've got an audience.
Bored of their magazines.
Yeah. And they're all now looking at me. A couple of them are giggling. And I know there's more than a couple that recognize me as Lochlin Cross from Power 97. So now I'm on stage. She says to me, and when did you do it?
The car on the way here.
That's what I told her. No, you didn't. I did. She looked at me with absolute terror. And I went, I'm kidding, man.
Yeah, you're kidding. All right. You're kidding. Dude, listen, greatest thing you've ever done. Get a vasectomy. I tell that to all my friends. Do the best thing you ever do for yourself. Thanks, buddy. Great to see you today.
You bet, bud. If you go to the webpage to check out the charity golf tournament on July 5th, which Dean is going to be there, don't miss out on the early bird pricing to get your team or your single in for the tournament. All right. It ends at the end of April. Early bird pricing to the end of April for the Arden Roof Systems charity golf tournament, helping out the Stollery Life program. Thank you, Dean. Have a good day.
Dude, absolutely. Great show. It was awesome to see you. Good luck with your yoga trip. We'll check in with you from time to time, see how you're doing with the vegan food. And as always, really appreciate everybody spending time with us today. Thank you very much. You can always get more stuff. You can never get more time. So thank you for spending it with us. We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Bye.